Hey, it's 4:29 a.m., August 28th, 2022. I haven't been able to sleep. I've been thinking about a lot of stuff and getting a ton of downloads. And I went down a mental vision rabbit trail, rabbit hole, whatever you want to call it. And I've been following the threads of Lucifer and Mother Mary, the goddess Anahita, correlating the stories between Tiamat, the Aeons, the Archons, the religious texts of Satan, Lucifer, and Jesus, all the Gnostic texts that I know about, the things I know about from the Bhagavad Gita, and I think the Upanash, something, I don't know what it's pronounced like. Some of the stories I know from the Quran, not many, and the different religions, and I've been kind of just mentally processing them, emotionally defragmenting those thoughts, and feeling them through while having these absurd mental images and visions. And then hearing these strange conversations and scriptures and words I've never heard before. And something just hit me like not 10 minutes ago. Wait a minute. Wasn't Tiamat one planet? And then it got broken apart. Earth is in a weird shape, and the story of Tiamat says that Pluto is part of it. Earth is part of it. And I'm thinking, but wait a minute. If Mother Mary is associated with Earth, Venus, and Virgo, and Venus because of the eight-pointed star, and Venus is known as Lucifer, the morning star, but Lucifer is also Sophia, and Sophia is also Gaia, but it's also connected to Mother Mary, and Mary Magdalene is one of the high priestesses of that order. And what we know of Saturn with its many planets, and the story of Tiamat, then Tiamat was also a part of Saturn's orbit. When Saturn or Jupiter were one or the other was the sun, which means the sun was also a planet, is also a planet, a luminous planet that was in another orbit. Because in the stories, the sun came to save the world, save Gaia, right? The children. And they were bound by Saturn, the physical world, the laws, the density. And then Uranus, the shaker, the whatever, those stories came and smashed Tiamat apart, right? Well, it probably smashed it away from Saturn, Kronos, who was eating all those children. Earth got knocked, or Tiamat got knocked out over there, somewhere out of the orbit. And then I keep seeing Tiamat break up into Venus, Earth, and Pluto, 3 different planets. And then Mars, being next to it, gets blasted by this shockwave and all life on it disappears. Mercury gets knocked all the way over close to the sun and like melts on top of itself and covers itself in this like weird steel shell when the planet used to be not that way at all. And it's like pieces of Tiamat scattered, and the remainder is like Earth. But any embodiment of Earth's consciousness that is incarnated seems to be associated with Venusian or Venus, the morning star. Even Mother Mary and the purity. Well, it's Anahita, it's Lucifer, it's the morning star. It's that from the pleroma and beyond that. So I can't help but think, because it just makes too much sense in my mind. And trying to put it into words, it doesn't make sense. But I'm really being shown one planet breaking apart, and then Venus, Earth, and Pluto are 3 aspects of that one planet. And they get what is that? Pool balls? Those things where you hit them with a cue stick? They like get knocked all over the canvas. I don't know, man. It's like the story's right in front of us. Anyway, I'm gonna go. Maybe some of you know about this. It would be really nice if somebody could add some input about any of the stuff that's been coming through that I don't really know about. Because it's starting to feel like I'm the only one that doesn't know about any of this stuff. Or I'm so far ahead of everybody in regards to this stuff that it's taking people decades to catch up. And I don't know which side is which. Especially with the stories I've been reading and being like the downloads I've been getting about, the figures known as Satan and Lucifer and all the different religions and aspects of all these beings. But they're all source. But yet we're all living in a world and we're all existing as these different incarnations and personas. And I can't help but wonder, someone like Mother Mary, like if I take all the sacredness and blasphemy and put it to the side for a second and look at this story with facts and scientifically, a heart as pure as Mother Mary, right? That pure. Who would its counterbalance be? Its primordial mate. Something that is completely impure. That will be the complete antithesis, right? The opposite point, the balancing point, the other side of the pendulum swing, the white to the black. Which then explains the story of Gaia and Saturn, and the density of this world, and Malkuth, and all the different planets and the associations in the tree of life, which goes back to Zoe, which goes back to Barbelo, which goes back to Sophia, which goes back to Tiamat, which goes back to Gaia, which goes back to Saturn, which goes back to Jesus, which goes back to Mary, which goes back to this entire thing. And then the 8-pointed star between all of them. And if you remove the X from the 8-pointed star, you get the crucifix, the cross. And if you tilt the cross and you remove one peg off of that, you get the Y, the X and the Y, the broken chromosomes with a male and female, which then leads you into the story of Zeus dividing the DNA. But in the story of Zeus, it's him splitting a character named Danae in two. Like he curses her or something and splits her apart with a lightning bolt, and then she becomes a he and a she. There's so many of these stories I've heard, and so many that I remember, and so many that I have access to. And looking at them while using my gifts, and really looking at these stories in the Akashic libraries, really looking at the tapestry and the colors and the music of the spheres, I really can't help but recognize that our perception of what's good and evil is completely skewed. Completely. Because in my mind, in my reality, the equivalent, like the partner to someone like Jesus Christ, wouldn't be a holy saintly woman. It wouldn't even be a holy saintly man. It would be a neutral, if not darker, warrior-esque, masculine, Amazonian priestess magical woman. Like the complete other side of a diplomatic, compassionate king of peace. An altruistic martyr. The opposite of that is a fucking warrior queen. And I think that's what Mary Magdalene was. And I think the mate, the partner, the God-appointed balance to someone like Mother Mary, to someone like Lucifer, someone as pure and bearing the light as that, would be someone bearing complete darkness, someone like Satan, a complete void of goodness, right? The personification of evil. But the common thread that connects them is the vibration of love. It connects everybody. And God. And since these beings are infinitely more intelligent and aware than we are, then our perception as human beings of what's good and evil is skewed. And then that brings me to a point regarding humans and their partners. Are we really with who we're supposed to be with? Or are we with someone who's reflecting back at us who we think we are? Because if I'm going to look at my life and think of my balanced partner, like a partner that would not complete me but complement me, I honestly can't tell you if it would be a king of peace or a, patron of darkness or something. I don't know. Someone like Joan of Arc would probably have a partner to balance her out that's like a homebody house husband. Like the complete opposite has to exist for each point. If there is pure purity, there is pure evil somewhere. But the thing that connects them is love. And if you can bring them together, then the extremes of either one come into a harmonious neutral point. Kind of like a gladiator and his wife, or a pharaoh and a pharaoh queen. But if someone embodies both, the light and the dark, then the balance point to that would have to be someone just as balanced but reversed. Do you see what I'm getting at? Everything we're looking at, from planets to the way our bodies and societies are run, is weird. It's a little off. I don't know, man. Something just doesn't feel right. It's like 5 in the morning and I feel wide awake. And I keep getting these messages and downloads. It's like a meteor shower into my mind. Something's happening cosmically, planetarily, and I just can't help but keep thinking about Mother Mary and Lucifer and Satan and Jesus, but they're not the biblical figures. They're like people and gods at the same time. And my mind's having like a cognitive dissonance between the visions I'm having and the reality I'm experiencing. Because the reality I'm experiencing seems to be fading into the background as if it was never real. I don't know. The past few hours, even the walls have looked different. The sky has looked different. Sounds sound different. And I keep hearing Lightbringer, Lightbringer, and Mariamme, Mariamme. Even right now, I'm having a montage of Polaroid pictures shown to me of multiple different people's lifetimes but they're all the same being, having multiple different lifetimes, and they're like dancing in space, and their lifetimes are like spiraling around them and taking form into the dancing shape. And the dancing shape is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it looks like an 8-pointed star. And I keep hearing Lightbringer. And then I keep seeing Mother Mary. And I'm so convinced in my mind, in my being, that Mary Magdalene was an actual high priestess of like a Gaian Mother Nature society. Like this woman had power to manipulate elemental forces legitimately, like shoot lightning out of her friggin' skin kind of thing. And I really, like, someone would have to convince me otherwise, and I'm open to it, but I feel like this is fact, and I don't know how or why, but it really feels like Mother Mary is the earth, is Sophia, Lucifer, because of the 8-pointed star, and Venus is associated with the 8-pointed star, and Jesus said he's a bright and shining morning star, and Jesus is a parthenogenesis through Mother Mary, which means he is a replica of her, touched by God, Source, which is also the originator who also made Mother Mary, which means she was also hermaphroditic, which then brings us back to Aphrodite, being born of the foam, the edge of the water. The foam is at the edge of the water. The pleroma is at the edge of that eternal realm. Aphrodite came through the shell. The earth is a shell around a being. I'm seeing this so clearly. And I'm seeing a red star, a red and black star, dancing with a blue and white star. And in between them, like from the lower part, like the white and blue stars on the left, the red and black stars on the right, and then there's like a purple magenta, like a Psylocke butterfly, hot pink kind of star coming in from the south side of the image I'm seeing. And on the top, there's a green star. And they're coming together. I don't know, you guys. I don't know. And I'm seeing like a golden ball floating through space. And it looks like the sun, but it's not the sun. It's a legitimate golden ball, like the atmosphere is so dusted with gold that it looks like a gold sphere. Am I supposed to tell them anything else? Joseph, go get Mary. I keep hearing Satan wants his jacket back from God. Or something about God's jacket or Satan's jacket. I think I made a video about this a while ago. And I think I had a download a few years ago regarding how I thought, or I was asked to share with you, and I had the thought in my head about the twin flame aspect of Satan and God. It's kind of like Adam and Lilith. It's so strange to me. It's so familiar. That's why I can't make sense of it. Usually when I have these visions, it's something that's very, like something I'm looking at and I'm reading and I'm relaying the message, you know, even if it's an intense vision and I go through it completely with all my senses, I'm still aware that I'm relaying a message. But this, what I'm seeing and what I'm being shown, it's contradicting every fucking thing. Everything. So even looking at it and processing it like a Virgo and relaying it, I'm looking at it and analyzing what I'm saying and thinking to myself in the back of my mind, how does all this make so much sense, but feel so inappropriate to say? It's like I've been conditioned to not even look at this and think about this as a possibility. I just keep hearing right now in my mind, what if the love of your life was Satan? Would you be okay with that? Who, like, what the fuck kind of question is that? I mean, everybody has to have somebody to love, right? So somebody should be made to love that guy too, or girl. And if it's me, then lucky duck me. Man, the things I think about as a fucking living being on a fucking planet. This all better be worth it. It better be worth it. I'm gonna go, because I'm getting slightly annoyed. I feel like I'm being read a book, and the book, every time I try to get the book to stop, it keeps going faster. Like, I don't want to read this. Why do you keep showing me this? I'm seeing all of it, like the map of the United States of America covered in roses. Just the entire thing is covered in roses. As if every borderline between, you know, that shapes each state becomes the vine that the roses grow on. Like each little dot is a seed planted. It looks pretty, let me tell you that. I'm seeing the cities, the city streets, the trees, the lamps, telephone poles, wires, sides of buildings, sewers. They're all just blooming in roses. It's kind of ridiculous. Because it's actually doable. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I hope somebody somewhere finds some use for this, because, not to sound ungrateful, but I'm really getting tired of getting these visions. I'm so fucking tired of making these videos. I am so fucking tired of putting in so much time into so much that I see no confirmation from that it's doing any good. So I'm just like shooting, you know, tossing stars into the void, basically. I don't know. I hope I'm doing the right thing. I hope I'm helping somebody out there.